Celebrate Thanksgiving with Safeway. This week at Safeway, get whole Signature Farms frozen turkey 10 to 15.5 pounds for $8 each, or 16.1 to 22 pounds for $10 each. Member price of the minimum $50 purchase. Limit one per household. Plus, packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, or AHA sparkling water are buy two, get three free. Limit 3 free items. Also this week, get 5-pound bags of Signature Farms russet potatoes for 97 cents each with digital coupon. Limit 1. Visit Safeway.com or head in store for more details.
Saying it like that makes it seem like a religion. Like I grew up in the 7-Eleven household, and then as I got older, I just found my way to Wawa, and they were really speaking my language, and my language is Italian hoagies.
Hi, my name is Richard Dix, and this is How Did That Happen? A podcast where I look at everyday things or events and try to figure out how they came to be. Every week I will research one topic, and by the end of the episode, I hope to truly have the answer to the question, how did that happen?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of How Did That Happen? This week we are discussing gas stations. Which one is your favorite? Come along for the ride this week as I ask, gas stations, how did that happen? All right. Thanks for coming back for another episode of How Did That Happen? We are here for episode 40, HDTH. Who would have ever thought? Not this guy, not episode 1. Would have never thought we'd get to episode 40, so I appreciate everybody who comes back and presses play. If you're new to this is your first week, I appreciate you as well. Let's see, what can we get into before the episode starts? What have I seen? What I think is going to happen now. I started this segment as a what have I been reading, and I do think I mentioned earlier that I go through these spells where I don't always read. I read for about 2 to 3 months at a time, and then I just kind of put down books, and I come back to it. So right now I'm not reading anything. So what I decided to change it to is what I saw, or what I saw yesterday, what I'm watching now, sort of thing. And I've kind of been doing that for the past couple weeks anyways, but it'll transition from time to time. And when I pick those books back up, trust me, you'll be the first to know. Let's see, what am I watching right now? I started watching that movie, The Northman, because I have Peacock, because I, have Xfinity, because I got Peacock and, whatever. But been watching that, and I'm the first 30 minutes of it are captivating, cannot describe, could not tear my eyes away from it. It was literally like must see TV, and I would recommend, if anybody has a half an hour to kill and they want something to watch the first 30 minutes of Northman. See if you don't, at the very least, have questions. You know what I mean? You may not love it, you may not understand it, but you'll leave there with wanting to follow up. You know what I mean? So yeah, but after that, it kind of lost me. The journey wasn't really there for me, but maybe I'll go back because, like I said, because they do some things, no spoiler, which is this is the beginning of the movie. What am I spoiling? But like the Viking men, and they're trying to declare their manhood in front of other men, and to show that they're not dogs, they do what I guess are manly behaviors. Ethan Hawke, I believe, is in this, and it's him and a kid that's playing his son. And Ethan, they're like, show you're not a wolf. And so Ethan just burps in this dude's face, just rank, you know what I mean? And then they go to his son, and the guy's like, show me you're not a dog. And he just rips a fart. And I'm just like, this is like 1,000 years ago, which actually, to keep what, if you saw on the Twitter page, I posted what I was researching. This is nothing, these are not connected, but what I was researching while I was looking up this episode, I found out how old the word fart is. And I posted that on the Twitter page with a graphic, but it does go hand in hand to just be like 1,000 years ago, like they were, I don't know, my mouth was open just watching this thing like this. If this is in any way accurate, I have questions. I don't understand humanity. But so that was good. What else am I? Is there anything else I'm really watching? I watched the new season of Rick and Morty. I'm still gonna hang in there. This first episode was I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't not feeling it. It was cool. The new episode comes out tonight because I record these on Sundays. So tonight at 11, I'll find out if I'm still into it, I guess. Let's see, what else is there? Probably not too much. You guys are like, I want to find out how these gas stations have, and you're going on about some cartoon. So yeah, so without further ado, here's the episode. Okay. So before we get into the whole idea of filling stations and gas stations and how they got to be and how they happened and all that good stuff, I thought I would at least I would start with what makes up a good gas station, at least in my opinion. And you're welcome to give your opinions as well in the on the Twitter page or however you want to get them to me. But I thought of a few things that make up a good gas station. One is free air for those tires, right? Gotta have it. Good food, which I don't think is on everybody's list for what is considered a gas station checklist. But to me, because it used to be a punchline that you don't eat at gas stations, and I still know people that don't. But it's like we've come further than that now. And there are some gas stations that people go to for lunch every day, and they somehow make it. Let's see, cheap gas. That's also going to be another one that'll make it makes a good gas station for me. And then the last one, which I think is not thought about that much until it's nighttime, but it's not sketchy or and it's well lit. So when you roll up into a gas station and you can see everything. There's lights and nothing's blinking. There's not some just like weird unlit corner or like a bunch of dudes who are just hanging out around it for some reason, not inside, not at their cars, or just around it. Those guys I'm always skeptical of. So if your gas station has all five of those things, those are four things, then that's what I consider to be a good gas station. Now, can we name some of those actual gas stations? Let's see. If you saw the Twitter page earlier this week, I posted my top three of favorite gas stations in no particular order. That was Wawa, Wawa, and Wawa. And no, I'm not from Pennsylvania, but I just have found a good product, and I know one when I see it. So we got Wawa. That's your first well-known gas station. Then we have Shell, Exxon, Citgo, 7-Eleven, and then BP. We're going to round it off with BP. Well, I will say I like BPs. I like a good BP. Their coffee is horrible, though. It is just, and it's across the board. I don't know what it is with you guys. I thought it was just one BP. When people say coffee tastes like dishwater, their coffee tastes like dishwater. It's just dishwater flavored coffee. It's as if you were going to wash dishes. You're going to wash dishes, right? You didn't put the soap in yet. You just ran that hot water, and then you just dumped in a cup of coffee, into the sink. And then they're like, we'll just mass produce that and sell it for 79 cents for a small. Man, but let's see. Wawa's good. Shell, Exxon, Citgo, they don't really fall into that category of having good food. I wouldn't really eat from any of those three that I listed. I'll eat from a 7-Eleven. Always eat from a 7-Eleven. I grew up with 7-Elevens, and then I found my way to Wawa. If we're gonna put it that way. Saying it like that makes it seem like a religion. Like I grew up in the 7-Eleven household, and then as I got older, I just found my way to Wawa, and they were really speaking my language, and my language is Italian hoagies. It is. All right, so let's get past that was just laying out the idea. Like when I was first doing this, I actually had written up a bunch for the topic, and then I thought, I was like, well, like what actually makes a good gas station? Because everyone is different. And when I thought about that, I asked my coworkers some questions about that, and that's when I realized, I was like, oh, you mean everybody just doesn't love Wawa? Literally, it was like an epiphany for me. I didn't. Because I asked one coworker, and she was like, I go to Kroger, so I was like, whoa, like, I mean, I know Kroger has gas, but I don't even think about Kroger in any capacity. I don't shop there either, but yeah, so it just made me think about, there are different characteristics that people look to when they're trying to figure out where they're going to get their petrol. Brings us to the next part of this. Most of the world calls fuel petrol, which is not gas. I mean, it is gas, but it's not called gas. The idea of fuel being called gas remains firmly in North America. Literally on Wikipedia, it says the rest of the English-speaking world calls it petrol, which feels like a subtle shot at North America, but we're going to move on from there. So in the UK, in New Zealand, and South Africa, a filling station is called a garage or a service station, which I think I've seen this in movies, but I did not know what I was seeing. I thought they were all just like literally like, mechanic shops, but it's actually where you get gas to. Australians call it a servo, which sounds so Australian. A servo, mate, servo. In India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, they call them petrol pumps or petrol bunk. In Japan, they call them gasoline stands, which sounds right for some reason. I don't know, one of you have never said that before, never been to one, but gasoline stands. I'm gonna spit a couple facts out at you about the current status of filling stations and gas stations and petrol stations in the world. Let's see. It looks like the UK has about 8,300 filling stations as of 2019, which is down almost or more than 50% than their highest. Not their highest since 92 when they had 18,000, but they had their biggest peak in the mid 60s at about 40,000 filling stations in the entire country. America, by contrast, has always had a bunch of filling stations, and they have. I don't think they mentioned the peak for America in here, but they basically say that they've always, at least for the last 20, 30, 40 years, has been at least six figures, like at least 100,000 gas stations in America. I think the most recent one they have is 2007, where it says like 118,000 gas stations. It's a lot of gas. In Japan, the number dropped from a peak of 60,000 in 94 to 40,000 in 09. Those gasoline stands, as we said. Let's see, there's a couple others on here. I don't know how important they are. Just different countries. I mean, if you're one of these countries, I'm sorry if you end up being considered not that important, but I don't know. You could read these facts all day and they can kind of get not that interesting. So we're going to jump to what you guys all came here for, which is the history of how they happened, how they came to be, service stations and filling stations. So before there were filling stations, consumers bought gasoline right out of a barrel at the grocery store or their hardware store. I mean, ew. But the new market for gas and consumer desire to buy gas more easily soon led to a landscape littered with gas stations. As we said, America has for a long time had over 100,000 gas stations. So, like I said, in the early years before there were gas stations, the consumers would get their gas from places like hardware stores, general stores, pharmacies, even blacksmiths. So pretty much anybody with a business could also sell you some gas, it seems like. I guess one thing that these pre-existing businesses had in common, the kind of the unifying factor, is that they all had pre-existing relationships with the refineries who sold kerosene, because they used it for all their stoves and for lighting everything anyway. So that's kind of what paved the way for these businesses to start selling these things. They were already kind of working with these manufacturers. And so the gas was stored in 5-gallon cans that was stacked curbside in long and large above ground tanks. And so the fuel was poured into the automobile's gas tank using a funnel, which just, we have come a long way since then. And due to the fire danger, and a series of unfortunate mishaps, public concern and regulators forced the sale of gasoline to dedicated retail facilities outside city centers, creating a new type of business, you guessed it, the filling station. Both the filling station and the gas pump would evolve into what we know now as the modern gas station. They didn't always come, like the initial iteration that was filling stations doesn't look a lot like what we have now. And I'll definitely be posting some pictures on the Twitter page about it after this goes up, but you can definitely look at any point and just see the first one in 1912 or 13 looked nothing like a 7-Eleven or a Wawa now. And so there are several locations around the United States that claim to be the site of the nation's first gas station, as far as possibly even the world's first gas station. According to a 1994 book, The Gas Station in America, by John Jackal and Keith Scully, or School, I'm getting those names wrong, where and when the first gasoline station appeared is difficult to establish, since various types of stations, in quotes, appeared on the American scene between 1907 and 1913. But the one that we're going to focus on, which is the one that is, you could say it's most people believe or lean this way, is that in 1913, the Gulf Refining Company opened the world's first drive-in gas station at the corner of the intersection of Baum Boulevard and St. Clair Street. Baum Boulevard was then already known, and I must say, this is not B-O-M-B Boulevard, it's B-A-U-M Boulevard, although it's just a pretty cool name. Meet you down at the Baum, Let's see, Baum Boulevard was then already known as Automobile Row because of the many car dealerships that already lined the streets. So drivers could pull right up into the good Gulf gasoline station with their new vehicles and fill her up. Good Gulf gasoline. Gotta love it. Let's see, the station offered free air and water, which, if you go back to my my top 4 things you need to have a good gas station, Good Gulf gasoline is bringing it on in, ain't they? The station offered free air and water and sold the country's first commercial road maps. My notes also say that this was the first architect design station, which, means basically this was the first gas station that they designed to be a gas station that wasn't like something before that was repurposed. On its first day, the station sold 30 gallons of gas at 27 cents per gallon. On the first Saturday they were in business, they pumped more than 350 gallons of gasoline. And from then, kind of is the history. But we're not going to end it there. That's just really the first actual gas station. Who I want to talk about next is a woman by the name of Bertha Benz. Bertha Benz, double B, right? She was married to Carl Benz, who, you know, that name sounds familiar. He's the guy behind the name Mercedes-Benz, or at least half the name. So when all this Benz stuff was kicking off back in the late 1800s, Carl had created his first car, but he wasn't. He didn't think it was done. He thought he needed more work, so he wasn't ready to put it out, to show the world. Bertha, good old Bertha, felt differently, and she took the car, unbeknownst to Carl, and took it out for a ride, and the world saw it, and she became the first person to drive across the state of Germany in a vehicle. And that vehicle was the patent motor wagon. It's a lot before it becomes Mercedes-Benz, but that was the impetus, if you will. There's a really cool silent black and white movie on it done by Mercedes. If you want to check it out on YouTube, that's where I got some of my information. But it's pretty cool. One other interesting fact about that, we talked about buying the gasoline from the pharmacy. Let's see what it is. The car did not run on gasoline, but it ran on highly volatile petroleum ether, which, of course, she got from her pharmacy. You can't make this stuff up. Let's see. I'm going to run you through a brief timeline of the gas and filling station openings to kind of get us to the Good Gulf. Good God Gulf. You know that place we were just talking about. So in 1905, the first dedicated gas station is established in St. Louis, Missouri at 420 South Teresa Avenue. And this is probably why the idea of the first gas station itself is in dispute, because it's semantics. It's all about who had the filling station first, who had a gas station first, who had a drive-in gas station first. In 1907, the first service station is installed by Standard Oil in Seattle, Washington, at what is now Pier 32. And, of course, Standard Oil then goes on to become Chevron. So in 1909, the oldest existing gas station that is still around now goes into business, and that's Reighart's gas station in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I don't know much about Altoona. I do know that every time I go to see the AA team in my city baseball team play, they're always playing the AA team from Altoona as well. And so it's like I've seen them play like 10 times, and that's my only connection to Altoona, Pennsylvania. Besides, now that I know the oldest gas station in America is also there, still in business now. So let's see. So if we're going to talk, like we talked about gas stations, but we didn't talk about an integral part of gas stations, which is gas pumps. And like I mentioned, gas pumps were not always just a thing. People used to use funnels and all sorts of different things to get their gas, from the whatever receptacle they had into their vehicle or whatever they were trying to fuel up. And so before the dawn of the filling station, hardware stores and general stores stored kerosene in large tanks that would be ladled into customer containers. It was 1885 in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where kerosene gas pump inventor S.F. Bowser sold his newly invented kerosene pump to the owner of a grocery shop. This is the first time we see there being some sort of actual pump system to get the gas from, like I said, from its receptacle into whatever the customer's container. This solved the messy problem of a storekeeper ladling flammable liquid into whatever random container the customer brought in, which, it sounds like a problem. At that time, kerosene was used to fuel stoves and lamps, and gasoline was simply a volatile byproduct of refined kerosene. So the Bowser guy is who made the pump, but then the actual dispenser, which I assume is closer to the nozzle, was made by a Norwegian guy named Tokhem. I can get his whole name here for a second. What is it? John J. Jingleheimer. No, John J. Tokhem is what they said his name was. And he's the guy who actually created the idea for the dispenser in 1901. And that is, you get the pump and the dispenser together, and that's what makes a gas pump or the great grandfather of the gas pump that you're using every day. All right, and so one more piece of the gas station that I had to talk about and bring up, and then we'll pretty much be done with the whole idea of how gas stations happened. But it is the underground tank system that is basically the way most tanks or the way most gas stations are created these days. You don't see or know where the gas comes from. I remember when I was a kid and my dad told me, he was like, yeah, they're all in tanks underground. I was like, you're lying. No way. Who does that? You know what I mean? You mean to tell me all the gas that they're pumping up here all day long is coming from tanks right beneath us right now? Like, the whole thing was just a little much for me to really take in. And so I wonder if anybody else feels the same way. But So I looked up some videos on it, and it wasn't as, not gonna lie, it wasn't as mind-blowing as I thought it was gonna be, but that sounds more like my problem. But it was just they have huge tanks under the asphalt, and they have to, what I didn't know is that it makes pressure while like the pumping of the gas, which I guess makes sense. So they have to relieve the pressure every time they put more gas in. So you can't put more gas in until you take the pressure from the previous gas out. And that is how gas stations happened.
And now it's time for the roundup. The roundup. The roundup. And we're going to round it up.
Before filling stations, customers bought their gas needs at places like pharmacies, blacksmiths, and general stores. The first gas station is up for dispute, but they began to open up between 1905 and 1913. The gas pump was developed independently and really came about as a necessity for safety. Things I didn't know before, and now I know them. Never heard of these things. What are they? All right. See, I got two for you today on the things I didn't know before. The first one I'll jump right into. So, in some parts of Canada, gas stations are called gas bars, which makes the idea of getting gas sound so much more fun. If you're going to a gas bar, like I said, it's some stuff like those and the Japanese and their gasoline stands. I'm telling you, when I first heard that in my head and then said it out loud, it sounded like the cleanest thing I'd ever heard. A gasoline stand. I was like, why don't we have those here? Then I was like, oh, we do have those here. They're just called gas stations. Here we go. So the second one is not so much it is a thing I didn't know, but I watched a video on YouTube about the biggest gas station in the world, and it pays off. I'll tell you what, it pays off. It was it's the Buc-ee's. It's the gas station. It's called Buc-ee's. It's not a truck stop. It's actually a gas station, and that's something that I thought was worth noting when I looked at it, because you would think the biggest gas station in the world would be a truck stop, because up until this video, the biggest ones I'd ever seen were truck stops, and the biggest ones I'd ever been to also were truck stops. And I love going to those things. You go in there and like the bathrooms have showers and stuff, and you can buy like belt buckles and like shirts and stuff and like everything but this is like, but they went into Buc-ee's. I'd heard of Buc-ee's, but never really knew what Buc-ee's was. I have family in Texas, and so I think I've heard of this before. I watch enough TV, but to really see what it was interesting. It was like, it's to paint it. It's like Walmart. It's like if Walmart and Wawa had a baby. Yeah, it's like if Walmart and Wawa had a baby, and that baby was a beaver that gave you the biggest gas station in the world. That's what Buc-ee's is. So I encourage you to go watch that video. It's by this couple who are doing life in a Sprinter van or whatever. Which I'm just saying, after that Gabby Pepito stuff, anytime I see a white chick in a Sprinter van, I'm just like, Lord help her, because that your boyfriend is just one hiking trail away from just losing it all, I guess. But that's a whole different podcast. Thanks for coming by this week, guys, and learning how gas stations happened. Always a good time. We'll see you guys next week. And if you could find it in your heart, deep, deep, deep down in there, give me 5 stars. See you guys next week.
Celebrate Thanksgiving with Safeway. This week at Safeway, get whole Signature Farms frozen turkey, 10 to 15.5 pounds for $8 each, or 16.1 to 22 pounds for $10 each. Member price with a minimum $50 purchase. Limit 1 per household. Plus, packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, or AHA Sparkling Water are buy 2, get 3 free. Limit 3 free items. Also this week, get 5-pound bags of Signature Farms russet potatoes for 97 cents each with digital coupon. Limit 1. Visit Safeway.com or head in store for more details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.